Hi and welcome to my video. This video was an intervention for a goalkeeper who's 23 years of age. He was anxious when challenging for the ball in a corner kick. The intervention strategies used were kinesthetic imagery, pet-lep and action observation. And also the use of propositional meaning. My name's Mark. I'm a sports psychologist. How can I be of service today?
I'm a goalkeeper in football, and when I come up for a corner, I often fumble the ball under pressure.
Alright, okay. So are you quite fairly familiar with the use of imagery?
Yes, I often use it after the game to reflect on my game.
Alright, okay. So in this instance then, I'd be thinking maybe we could use imagery before a game or to maybe reflect your future performances in competition. Would you be interested in doing that?
Yes.
Alright, okay. So first of all, I'm going to ask you to fill out an imagery questionnaire, which basically will give information to me on how good your ability is at using imagery, and if it's fairly good, well then obviously we can then proceed to the intervention stage. There we go. Here I'm getting the client to fill out the 35-item version of the Sport Imagery Ability Questionnaire by Jennifer Cumming and Sarah Williams. This was to just provide me with information of the client's imagery ability. Oh, right, congratulations, you scored a fairly high mark on the imagery questionnaire. So we're going to go through with the process and use action observation and imagery. The type of imagery I'm going to use is pet-lep, which basically refers back to using imagery in a more of a meaningful manner and in an environment that suits you. So what we'll probably do is when you perform an action observation and imagery, we'll do it on a football pitch and you'll be in kit where it's more applicable to suit your actual sport. Because, for example, you wouldn't really do imagery lying down on a bed or anything like that, because that's not what you do in your sport. So I think within this it'll be a lot more helpful to you, and we'll see how it goes. Also, as well as using pet-lep imagery, I asked the client to also use kinesthetic imagery. This was so that the client could actually imagine themselves performing the task when viewing the video. I also asked the client to imagine the sounds that are made when the ball leaves the foot of the opponent. With this, I also asked the client to imagine the sounds that are made when he successfully catches the ball when receiving a corner. Next, with the client, was a practice stage, where the client viewed a variety of stimuli in relation to his sport. Throughout this stage, whilst the client was watching the video and trying to use imagery, I attempted to prompt the instructions previously discussed so that I could try and keep my client focused on the task throughout. I also attempted to use imagery in the form of pet-lep. With this, I tried to implement my client by asking to wear his sporting kit and goalkeeping gloves. I also tried implementing pet-lep through the use of environment, so having my client stand on a football pitch when performing this intervention task. Next, the client asked me for more information about the actual science behind the intervention. So, in a manner which was relatable to him, I tried to explain the neuropsychology research, which has shown that action observation and motor imagery activates the brain more than just using imagery or action observation individually. I then moved on to say performing this intervention on a regular basis could improve performance, help you learn new skills, refine techniques, and understand the intentions of your opponents. This next stage was not a practice. This was the actual intervention stage. Whilst watching a video in first person, my client used action observation and motor imagery. Also, my client, from previous discussion, tried to implement the instructions that were given throughout the practice stages. Also, as you can see, PetLep imagery was focused throughout, through the client using goalkeeping gloves, sporting kit, and perform this task on a football pitch. As you can also see, my client has only one earphone in his left ear. This was due to my client having an hearing impairment in his right ear. I also found literature that suggested that every individual has a dominant ear when receiving audio feedback. Also, the same literature showed that using multisensory feedback could also help us understand the intentions of others more appropriately. This then gave me the idea to use this in the intervention strategy when using action observation and motor imagery, which may form a more applicable intervention for my client. After this intervention was shown to my client, he used this same strategy 2 times a day, every day for the next 6 weeks. After the 6 weeks were up, I met with the client to see if any of the skills that were used in the intervention were retained.